welcome back to The Issue Is, and congratulations on the book, my friend.
I truly appreciate it.
Yeah, so your bottom line thesis is a lot about politics, but the sort of the core of the book is a lot just about you and your personal experience, right? And this kind of crazy life story you have of growing up on the south side of Chicago, poor, your mother addicted to drugs, and sort of the struggle for you to find your identity in that process.
Yeah, and it was a really tough journey. I grew up, as you mentioned, on the south side of Chicago, extraordinarily poor, lights, gas, and water off at the same time. Mom addicted to crack cocaine. And that was actually the catalyst for me jumping into politics. I think of one afternoon, it was a Saturday, I was riding with my grandfather through an area of Chicago called Inglewood, which is one of the hardest hit areas in terms of the violence. And we were riding by and I saw this lady who I just knew was my mom. She looked drugged up and beat down. And I began to tear up. And my grandfather saw it. And I said, what can I do to prevent this from happening? At that point, I realized it wasn't my mother. And he pointed me in the direction of politics, the elected officials. They can provide grant funding for those who want to be rehabilitated. So the very next week, I started volunteering for my local alderman. And
you assumed that you should be a Democrat because
of course, that's what I was
everybody in Chicago that looked like you pretty much were.
Or across the country.
And then you started to think, this party isn't for me.
Absolutely, and it came.
Why?
It came from a conversation I was having with an African-American fellow on the street corner one day. I pontificated everything that I heard in the community. Republicans are racist. They don't care about poor people, black people, that kind of thing. And he challenged me on some of my viewpoints. But whenever I'm challenged, as you know, even on this show, I go research so I can have a stronger argument for later. And I realized the party was started in 1854 in opposition to the Kansas-Nebraska Act, which wanted to expand slavery. And all these different areas of civil rights couldn't have passed without Republican support. It amazed me. I saw a conservative ideology, religious freedom. I've come from a very religious family, entrepreneur. It was amazing, but it was also, after I saw myself as that person, I felt extraordinarily depressed, because how could I be one of these people? The lie that I had been told, that Republicans are racist. It didn't matter who you were. You can be a good person.
Yeah.
If you had Republican in front of you, I thought you were a racist, because that's what I was taught.
And so you write about the fact that it was almost like coming out of the closet for a gay person. You felt like you had to come out of the closet being a Republican.
I wouldn't know what that is.
It was uncomfortable for you.
It was very uncomfortable.
You said you were called an Uncle Tom, you were called a house N-word, you were called all different names in the process.
Right, absolutely. And I mean, I still get that kind of hate today. It's traumatic, but at the same time, I can't run away from who I truly am. I am a conservative, I'm a proud conservative, and I believe my voice, especially having a platform on Fox News Channel to speak before millions of people with very important issues that comes up, whether it be Charlottesville or anything else, it matters and it resonates and people hear it.
Well,
I'm thankful.
Let's talk about Charlottesville, because that was an instance where you did not agree with what the president did.
Absolutely.
A lot of people feel that the president was racist in that situation. You were brought on maybe to defend him, and then you ended up saying this.
I'm sorry that this is where we are right now, and I hope the president learns a lesson from his press conference on yesterday. It's disturbing.
Gianno, these are very sensitive topics.
Why was that so emotional for you? And do you believe what a lot of Democrats believe, which is that President Trump is a racist?
It was President Trump in the 2016 election as candidate Trump was someone who I defended where I believed appropriate. When he would mention black issues, it resonated with me, because we haven't had a Democrat or Republican who spoke about it in the way that he did. And I know people felt that there was insensitivity in it. You know, what do you have to lose? I know that there was individuals who felt that what he said about Chicago wasn't true, that you can walk down the street and get shot. Well, I happen to have a different set of experiences where you can legitimately walk down the street in the city of Chicago and be shot.
And your brother,
my little brother was in a car with two of his friends during Memorial Day weekend 2017 when two men walked up and shot the car 25 times. He lived, but his best friend died in his arms. I've seen it time and time again. So with this particular president, what I can say about him now is in 2 to 3 years, he's accomplished more for African Americans than any president in my lifetime, certainly. He's been the most impactful president from a policy standpoint for African Americans.
Of course, we're looking now at some video of a documentary you made for Fox Nation on Chicago violence, where you went back to Chicago and documented some of that. That's quite a statement that you're making. And
I know it
most
is. And it's
people
so
on the
different.
left will say
Absolutely.
Barack Obama, the first African-American president, way more important for African-Americans
I think
than President
inspirational.
Trump.
Yeah, certainly. Like you want to aspire to be. I think it broke the barrier mentally for people who believed that it wasn't possible. I congratulate Barack Obama on that, absolutely. But when we're talking about policy, talking about the First Step Act, thousands of people released from jail, 90% of them black, the lowest unemployment rate for African Americans. Since 2016 up until now, the Bureau of Labor Statistics said that there's been over 1.3 million jobs created for African Americans, funded for HBCUs, opportunity zones, jail reform. These are issues that directly impact black people. No other president that I've seen or have knowledge of has done so much for African Americans specifically than President Trump has. Now, I can agree that the rhetoric is out of control at times, is insensitive. I can agree on those things. But what matters at the end of the day is if my cousin has a job. And certainly I can say that under President Trump, they now do.
So why is that, though, that 90% of African Americans disagree with you? And what would your advice be to Republicans, say, in this state of California, on how to get blacks to actually vote Republican?
Well, since I've been a conservative, which has been over a decade, I've been advocating for going into these neighborhoods directly. I've been advocating passing policy specifically to black folks. The messenger is imperfect, and I'm talking about the messenger being that of Donald Trump. Absolutely imperfect, certainly. But this is someone who's actually getting something done. So if you have a list of accomplishments, deliverables of how it impacted and changed your life, that's the best message you can give, and continue to speak that message and go into communities where they don't agree with you to have those conversations.
We're gonna have to pause for a moment, but as we go to break, some music you chose from your favorite artist, Kanye West.
Yeezy.
That's right. We encourage you to check out The Issue Is podcast. Gianno and I recently did an even deeper dive into his life story. All of our past shows available in podcast form. Just search for The Issue Is. Type that in, The Issue Is, wherever you stream. Up next, Gianno plays personal issues, and maybe he'll teach me a dance move or two in the meantime. What's your move to just back and forth? It's better when you do that. Next week, our Thanksgiving week show is all about gratitude. With us, baseball star Ryan Braun talking about the millions he's raised through California Strong, and our own Amanda Salas is back to talk about beating cancer. Back now with Gianno Caldwell. Next week's show all about gratitude. You're grateful, I'm sure, for your new book, Taken for Granted. But what are you most grateful for?
I'm most grateful that we live in a country where you can come from the harshest set of circumstances and become one of the greatest victors in your own life. And I really appreciate that. I'm thankful for that.
Yeah. All right. So let's do something called personal issues. You've been on the show so many times.
I have a lot of those.
But you've never been, so do I. You know many of them. This is where we're going to put 30 seconds up on the clock, and we're going to get to know you a little bit better.
Okay.
Okay? So, Gianno, who is the best rapper of all time?
Kanye West.
What's your favorite book?
Taken for Granted.
Oh, my God. Dream vacation spot?
I love Italy.
Favorite newscaster?
Elex Michaelson!
There we go, Elex. Favorite athlete of all time?
Michael Jordan, I guess.
Okay. Favorite restaurant?
Jesus, anything in Italy.
Favorite liberal?
Who would that be? I don't know. Donald Trump?
Who's your role model?
My grandfather.
Yeah, why is that?
He taught me about politics. In addition to that, he was one of the individuals who always told me never to give up. If someone said something negative about me, he would tell me it wasn't true. He inspired me, and he still does. He's my biggest hero. Awesome.
All right, again, that book is called Taken for Granted. Congratulations on all the success so far. We're going to play some more Kanye, because he's your favorite. Yeah. Power, because you're a very powerful guy.
Oh, wow, that's so nice of you. You're dope. My man.
Congratulations.
My man.
Happy Thanksgiving to everybody watching at home. Have a great one. We'll see you next week for more of The Issue Is. Here, now we really can see it.
Do I need to stand up and do it?
Let's see it. Let's see it.
There it is, right there.